Hi, this is Ann with Graphic Design How To, and today I'm going to go over how to make a distress or texture in Adobe Illustrator that will actually punch out of a design. So you'll have little holes that will be cut out of the design. And this is good for something like SVG files for Cricut or Silhouette, so that the design will actually be distressed for real. Now, if you're doing this for something like screen print, it might be better to have a more subtle distress. And I actually have another video that you can take a look at, and it'll be right up here at the top of your screen. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I've downloaded this image from pexels.com, and I'll leave the link to this in the description below. It's a water image, but it also has a lot of just lights and darks, and so I think it'll work really good for a texture. I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. First, I'll change it to grayscale. I'll go to Image, Mode, and Grayscale. We'll discard the color information, and then I'm going to open Levels with Command L or Control L. I'm going to get this to look more black and white instead of gray and light gray. So I'll bring this slider over to make the dark parts darker, and I'll bring this slider over to make the light parts lighter. And then the middle slider, I'm going to take over to the right a little bit. Maybe bring this one in a little more. So the final look we want is something that is more black and white. And I'll say, okay. Then I'm going to invert the image to get more of an overall white image with black specks. Then I'll go ahead and save this in the same folder as a JPEG. I'll just add white and black to the end, and we'll save. I'll keep my JPEG options the same and say okay. Next, I'm just going to drag that JPEG onto my Illustrator icon to open it. Now, this is coming in really huge, and that's fine. I'm going to make sure it's selected, come up here to Image Trace and click that, and then I'm going to open my tracing options, which is right up here in the control panel. And by the way, if you're not seeing this panel, it's under Window, Control right here. Okay, so we'll click this. I'm going to change my threshold to a really high number like 240. This will add more detail. Now this is really going to depend on your texture, so this is kind of the effect that I want. I want to have more little chunks to work with, if that makes sense. Okay, and then we'll come up here to expand. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and see what we have. Now this is a lot of texture, and I definitely don't need this much. I don't want a really strong texture like this part, so I'll probably be working with this part over here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the white by hitting Y, which will get me to my wand tool right here. And I'll select the white and then just delete it. You can also do this in the image trace dialog box, but I usually find it faster to do it the way I just showed you. Now I'm going to open another image that I downloaded from Vectorizing. And generally speaking, you want your artwork at 100%. So this orange is my garment color, and this is about 15 inches wide. And then the art itself is 8.5 inches by about 14 inches, which is a good size for this type of vertical graphic like this. Okay, I'll go back to the texture I made. I'm going to use my group selection tool to draw a box around this part of the texture. And then I'll copy that and I'll paste it, and I'm going to group it also, and I'll resize it over my design. So now I have all these black chunks and I want to recolor them to the garment color. So I'll hit I to get on my eyedropper tool, and then I'll select the garment color. And I'll move it a little bit. I don't like a whole lot of texture over the eyes, so this looks pretty good. Now some of these pieces are pretty small, and I don't want my cutting machine to get kind of bogged down by all the tiny pieces. It'll also be hard to get those pieces out of the vinyl. So what I'm going to do is get ChatGPT to make an Illustrator script for us that'll remove all these tiny pieces in here. So I'll go out to Google Chrome and ChatGPT, and I'm just going to type, can you make an Illustrator script to delete all paths that are less than 0.15 inches tall or 0.15 inches wide? And I'll put this text in the description below so you can copy and paste it for yourself into ChatGPT. Okay, so now it's written the script, and I'm going to copy that right up here in the corner. I'll open any text editor. I'm going to use TextEdit, which comes standard on a Mac, and I'll paste this in. Now I need to make sure this is saved as plain text. I'm going to hit Shift-Command-T to change this to a plain text document. And this should be up here in the menus if you're using some other text editor. And now I'll save this, and I'm going to put it in that same folder. We'll call it Delete Small Paths. And I'll save. I'll change my extension to .js, so I'll just add .js at the end. When I do that, it'll ask me if I want to change it, and I'll say yes. Then I'll come back to Illustrator and go to File, Scripts, Other Script, and then I'll navigate to that script and open it. Okay, and now it says that 322 small paths were deleted. And I'm going to undo and then redo, so you can see these little tiny pieces are gone now. This will also help with file size. I'll also save this script in my description, and you can put it in a text editor and save it as .js, and it should be good. And then you can use it in the same way. Okay, so the next step is to actually cut this texture out of our design. I'm going to select the background and hide it with Command 3 or Control 3. And then I'll select all with Command A or Control A. Next, I'll come down to Pathfinder, and then I'll choose Divide right here at the bottom. Now I can select one of the texture pieces and then select the same fill color. And then delete all those. And you can see those chunks are missing from the brown parts now and the yellow parts. Now I need to combine and make a compound path of the other colors. So I'm going to select the brown. I'm going to select the same fill color. I actually have a keyboard shortcut set up for that, but you can go up to Select Same Fill Color right here. And then I'm going to unite those under Pathfinder. And I'll also make a compound path with Command 8 or Control 8. And I'll hide it with Command 3 or Control 3. Next, I'll click on the yellow and I'll do the same thing and hide that. And then finally, there's white. I'll do the same with the white and I'll hide that. Okay, now I'll unhide all. Now I really don't need the background anymore, so I'm going to click on that and delete it. Now when I select all, you can see I have some other little pieces out here, and we don't want those, so I'm going to click on one, and I can see this is not colored at all. It has no stroke and no fill. So I'm going to go ahead and select all the pieces like that by going to Select, Same, Fill, and Stroke. And that should select all those, and then just hit the delete button to get rid of them. Now I'll select all, and I'm going to group this with Command G or Control G. Now, if you're using this for a cutting machine, you'll want to save as an SVG. So we'll go to File, Save As, choose SVG here at the bottom. I'm just going to call this one SVG. We'll save it. And I'm going to use Basic 1.1. Probably some of the newer versions work too, but this one I found always works well for me. And we'll say OK. Now let's go out to Cricut and test this. I'll come over here to Upload, and then I'll upload the image. I'll browse for it, and I'll navigate to it. Here it is, and I'll open that. We'll continue and upload. And I'm going to reduce the size a little bit. And here you can see all the little cutouts. I've got my brown layer here, I've got my white layer here, and then I have my yellow layer. Now if I go to make it, I'm going to say on matte, we'll confirm. And then I get 3 different colors of mattes. I've got my white matte here, my brown matte here, and my yellow matte with the 2 eyes. And that's it. Alright, if this video was helpful and you want to see more videos like this, just hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and you'll be notified every time a new video comes out. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you!